Hey there, Regina Andler here with Coffee, Coffee with Regina. And today I have my unbelievable guest, Gail Kraft, with me. And what does it say next to your name? The empowering process?
The empowering
The
process.
empowering process. And Gail, I know you're a motivational speaker, you do podcasts, you are an author. I actually have one of your older books right
Yeah.
here.
My
It's the
first book
Authenticity.
ever.
I love it. And you've been doing, consulting and helping people basically live better lives and run better businesses and all that kind of stuff for many years, right?
A decade. I'm
Wow.
starting my second decade. Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
So today, over coffee, a chat with a purpose. We wanted to, I know I keep moving it into the wrong spot on the screen. Wanted to chat about, clarity and focus. So whether it's life or business, we always talk about adding more clarity and focus to our lives. And I don't know, it's like when I think about focus, I'm like, I don't know, what really is focus? How do you define focus?
You know, um, that's interesting. So focus, first of all, there's intention behind it, right? Right. So, and it's impossible to have focus if you don't have a purpose or an intention. What are you going to focus on? Right? So for me, focus is, so what is your intention? Why is that your intention? And then what is it that you need to do in this moment to get you there? Right? And so it's in this moment. Yes, you need a vision. Yes, you need a dream. Yes, you need a purpose. But the focus is in the moment. The focus can be in just the breath, right? Just the breath. I
Right.
love that, calms you right down and brings you to
Yeah.
focus. Yeah.
So focus, when I talk about focus, a lot of times I talk about being present because when you are really focused, it means you're focused, you're present in that moment. And I think that's one of the things that for most people is the most challenging thing is to be in the present. We're so squirrely. There's always something going on.
Because we're looking for external stimuli, we have allowed ourselves to become that kind of society. Um, One thing that I started doing, I have a friend who, I was at a motivational event and he crewed with me. We were teammates and we sat down to have our meal and he stopped and he prayed over his meal before we ate. And, it was a silent prayer. It was just honoring the animals that died, the plants that gave up their life in order to feed me. And I thought, that is something we don't do anymore. And that's focus. That's honoring the food that's coming in, right? And so we had a conversation, his wife, myself, and him, about honoring preparing the food.
Hmm.
That's focus because that reminds us as to where that came from and the whole purpose of eating in the first place. The eating is not just so that you can get to the next thing. Purpose is not just to fill up time while you're watching TV and throwing down a bunch of chips, right? So that's focus, I guess. That's a way of looking at focus, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and when you think about that focus, it really is. It's all about that being present with whatever's right in front of you at that moment, whether it's your meal or a work task or another person.
Right.
I mean, how many people, we have that whole, you have two, you have, what is it? You have
Two ears and
two,
one mouth.
two ears. I almost said two eyes.
Well, we do that too.
We have two eyes. We have two ears, one mouth, use them proportionally, right? And so when we think about that, when we say that all the time, when we're listening to other people, our brains aren't always focused. They're thinking about the response before the person even finishes talking. So they aren't really being 100% present.
No, and I love, and we all do it, guys. So, no blame, no shame, right? But, you'll say something, it'll trigger, oh, I want to tell her this story. And now I'm going down this story and I haven't heard a word you said. after my brain starts to formulate the story that I want to talk about. That's why I have paper here and a pen, because I'll jot it down and then I can become present again, right? I don't allow the squirrel to take over, right?
Exactly. That's one of those tips and tricks for people, that if you have that squirrely brain, that when you're talking to somebody, especially, in our world these days, most of the time we're on Zoom. And so it's really easy, super easy to have a paper and pencil right next to you. So when your brain goes, "Oh, I want to bring this up," or, "Oh, she just said this and she's still
Right.
talking. And so I want to make sure that I acknowledge this," you can actually have it written down so you don't have to basically be squirreled
Check
out
out.
and not hear what's going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You check out. You aren't present with the conversation anymore. Even though it looks like you're present, you're not actually present with the conversation. So you're not focused on that person anymore.
I can tell by the glazed eyes. So so I do have some NLP training, in fact, a lot of NLP training. And one of the things that you go through in that course, in that process, is learning to read facial expressions. And, and I can see even on the YouTube or whatever, I can see the glaze. I can see they're not hearing a word I am saying.
Deer
Right.
in the headlight.
Right, guys, you're not really fooling us. You're not really fooling us. So I do, if you watch any of my podcasts, you'll see that I'll say, oh, that was a great point that you made. I want to get back to something you said a few minutes ago that really triggered me. And so I have some questions. So I will write it down and allow my guests to continue their thought, because I'm there to honor their time, them and their time and their message.
Right. Yeah. And,
Right.
and that's the best way to do it. When you that I love that tool. For the longest time when I first started doing stuff on Zoom, this whole COVID um, experience really changed around what we do and how we communicate. And so much of it is virtual now. And when I first started using it, I honestly, it just didn't even dawn on me. And I kept missing pieces of conversation. And so I kept going back and going, all right, I need to find something. And literally it was like, piece of
Duh.
paper. Duh. There's a piece of paper next to you, just write it down. And then I started doing that. It was the best tool in
Yeah.
my box at that time, and
Right.
it really helped me be more focused and present, especially, when I'm working with clients. I'm sure when you're working with your clients, our clients, we're here to listen. That's our
Right.
job. That's
Right.
what we do. We listen and we hear, and we help and offer suggestions, and we hear what's underneath what they're saying.
Oh,
And
yeah.
unless you're,
Absolutely.
yeah. So as a coach, as a consultant, unless we're like laser focused on that conversation, we can't be effective coaches and consultants. So
Yeah.
it's what we need to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So lately, I've been doing a lot of leadership training, and the leadership training is around language, how you use language, how you listen for language, right? And I will say, did you just hear yourself say that you need? Let's talk about the feeling of lack. Let's
Mhm.
talk about that, because if the second you say I need you to, you're expressing that you have lack. Right.
Mhm.
So how do you ask your team to do something without saying you need them to? Unless that's intentional. So sometimes because I need you to step up and be a woman. I need you to put your big girl panties on and take it on. Right? Right? I need, so that's intentionally using that language. So when you understand um the language of necessity, that's necessity, right?
Mhm.
Um and how we use it and really mess with our brain. When you understand that, you stop messing with your brain, you stop being intentional and focused with the words that you use, right? And
Right.
you become intentional and focus on the direction that you want the conversation to go.
Right. And so, you're hitting on all these little things, that focus isn't focus by itself. Focus is about your intention. It's about being present. It's about all of these other things. Focus is made up of a bunch of different things. And when any one of those things is out of place, you start to lose focus.
Yes. Yes, yes, and we allow it, and then we make excuses about I have a squirrel brain. Guys, everybody has little voices in their heads. You're not that special. We all have. I have a committee
Yeah,
talking in my head, right? Right? And so I need to be the boss of the committee, right? I need to be the
yeah.
CEO of me,
Yeah, I like to say, the monkey mind, and
right?
I always say, my monkeys are in the middle of a party right now, and I'm working on getting their attention.
Right? Right. And you can do that, and your subconscious will listen to you.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly,
It's just that we're not trained. We're not taught how to use our mind.
exactly.
We're taught how to memorize. We're taught how to behave, right? And we're taught that we aren't good enough, right? So we were going to talk about mindset as well, right? We're not good enough,
Absolutely.
and those feelings, those emotions of self-esteem, actually get in the way of focus.
Yeah.
Right? So let's take an example. So have any of you, I know I've done this, so I will call myself out. There have been times that I've said, you know, I'm going to do this. Tomorrow morning when I get up, I'm going to go for a walk first thing in the morning. I get up, you know, not really. I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to sit down and, play with my video games. I'm going to put on the tube. No, I don't do all of that stuff. But I will make a statement that I'm going to do something without the intention of really following through.
Hmm.
Okay. Now I have taught my subconscious mind that I lie to myself. So if you're a CEO of yourself and you've taught your team that you're a liar,
Hmm.
what makes you think your team is going to listen to you? Right. So when you start affirmations, so you start, working with a coach and it doesn't work. Because your subconscious like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, she'll get up tomorrow and change her mind," right? So focus is about following through on your intention. So we talked earlier that I'm doing 75 hard.
Yep.
I'm starting it again. This is my second time through.
For all of the people who don't know what 75 hard is, describe 75 hard.
Yep, I definitely will describe it. I will tell you the benefits I got out of it last time, and that's why I'm doing it again. For 75 days without skipping a beat. You get up in the morning and you do a bunch of things. You take a selfie. You drink a gallon of water that day. You exercise for 45 minutes indoors, and then you exercise for 45 minutes outdoors, not back to back. They have to be separate entities. You are on a meal plan, whatever that is, right? You read a self help book, 10 pages. You read it, it's not an audio, right? You do the, and no alcohol. Now, the last time I did it, I was on a food plan. I was walking outside, no alcohol during Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and Valentine's Day.
That took a little focus, huh?
And it was not easy to stick with it, but I did. And at the end, I came out knowing that I know what intention is, that
Mm.
I am pretty more awesome than I thought I was. I came out with the word unapologetic. I became unapologetic for who I am and my choices through that process. Also, guys, if you miss a day, you start at day one.
Yeah.
So there was motivation for me not to miss a day.
Now I'm just going to point out, and I'm just going to say, you're a badass when it comes to this, because here's the thing. I know what 75 hard is. I've read the G code. I've looked at all the stuff. Yeah, I've looked at all the stuff a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
And when I saw 75 hard, and I do obstacle course racing, so
Right.
I'm training all the time. I work out 6 days a week, and my meals, maybe not all that great. My diet's not all that great. I'm working on that. It's a continual process. And I looked at 75 hard saying, with my competitions and stuff I do, I really should do 75 hard to get myself in a good place. And I have to tell you, it scared the heck out of me. And I'm looking at it going, okay, well, you already work out 6 days a week. So what is the big deal? And it was all the others. And I'm like, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. I
My
don't know. I
challenge,
don't know if I'm committing myself to do this.
right? It is a commitment. My challenge was the water.
Okay.
a gallon of water a day, and
Yep.
that is spring water. Coffee and tea doesn't count.
Right.
Flavoring your water with lemon doesn't count, right? It's pure spring water. And the reason is because you're working out and you want to be sure that you hydrate, right?
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you that I spent more time. I think it was the within the first week, as I was in a Facebook group, I posted, "I'm spending my life in the bathroom now, guys. I don't know about you, but that I'm going to put my computer in there." Right? And it's real. I mean, that's it because you're drinking so much water that you better. And for me, uh, there were times when I would walk around my community here
Mhm.
that I would have to stop, come in and hit the loo, and then go back and finish my outside exercise.
I love it. And
Yeah,
that's commitment. That's commitment. That's focus.
right,
So I have this big, huge uh, gallon water jug. So
right,
I drink that every day because of what I do. So water is
right.
not my issue. Water is the easy thing for me. Working out, I mean, I work out 6 days a week. It's not a 45-45. So there would be additions to what I'm doing. For me, it's the food, the meal
No
plan, and
snacks. No
yeah,
snacks.
and working on that, and, honestly, that's where that focus comes in. We're talking about clarity too,
Right,
and so when it comes to that focus and that clarity to really be clear, what is your goal? What do you wanna do? What do you want to accomplish? Once you're clear on what it is you want to accomplish, the focus starts, coming more into focus. It becomes more intentional at that point because you're clear as to what you want. You're clear to the end game of what you're working on.
right, right. And for me, I learned that I need to plan my day and I need to front load because I'm a morning person. If I slip anything, if I'm not done exercising by noon, if I'm not three-quarters of the way through my water by noon, the meal plan is noted. Am I reading done? And if it, by noon, if the majority of it isn't done, I knew I was in trouble,
Mm,
right? And that's really how I run my life. I've always been a morning person, so I front load,
mhm,
right? So I put out my mat, my exercise mat, right? And I'm like, okay, so what I'm going to do is when I get up in the morning, I'll start with the water and then work out. And then that means 9 or 10 o'clock, I can now go for a walk. We're doing this in the summertime. It's going to be hot as Hades out there. I'm going to want to walk either early in the day or not until the sun starts going down.
yeah, and that's easier to do in the summertime too, because it's light out early when it's hopefully a little bit cooler out, and so getting walks in the morning in the summertime is a lot easier than trying to do it over winter, where you did it the first time, and over the
Oh,
holidays. Oh my gosh.
I can remember because
I
I
I'm
did
like
a selfie.
I'm like bowing to you right now.
I think I did a Facebook Live or a selfie in the Facebook group during a snow and sleet. I was soaking wet and I was I mean, goggles, scarf, all I think you could see my eyes. Maybe I might have had sunglasses on, so maybe you couldn't even see my eyes. And I'm like, yo, this is fun. But I'm doing it. God damn it, I'm doing it.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, that's the whole thing is like whether the focus and clarity is, you had to have like extreme clarity going. There was nothing. It's 75 days. And like you said, it's 75 days straight. If you miss a day, you start from day one all over again.
Right.
And so clarity, that focus, the intention, when we talk about focus and clarity, it's not just those two things. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is included with it so that you can be really clear and really intentional and really whether it's 75 hard or it's you're running your business or running your life whatever it is, it's and it all comes down to mindset, and
Well,
and
it's personal integrity
hmm,
because no one's checking up on you. Yes, there's a group of us doing it and we're all going to be, talking with one another, but I could lie. Right? My daughter even said it last time. She goes, "Mom, who's going to know if you don't drink a gallon of water?" I said, "I will." "Who's
yep,
going to know, Mom, if you don't go outside in this weather? This is terrible." "I will."
yeah,
Right? And the thing about the winter, I use shoveling and cleaning my car off as part of the outside exercise, right? Because I'm out there shoveling the snow.
Mhm.
So, so I would time 20 minutes. Okay, so how much time do I have now to add to my 45 minutes of working out outside, right?
Yeah, that absolutely. Shoveling is that's a huge workout.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's great.
you figure it out.
Yeah. You said something earlier that, like, it all comes into this, and you said you're the CEO of yourself and being the CEO of self. Now, we often don't think about that. We so much think about doing stuff for others and all that kind of stuff, and we don't take care of ourselves as much. We don't play the CEO role. We kind of play the employee role for ourselves.
And sometimes the subservient role.
Yeah, and it's like somebody else needs to tell me what to do. So and when somebody tells me what to do, I'll go do that. And it's like, no, your story, your life, you
Hmm.
are the CEO of yourself.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Decide, make some decisions.
Yeah. And it sounds so easy. And that's why there are people like me, people like you, that folks can turn to help guide them through the obstacles. I work a lot with, I want to call it trauma, right? Because the blocks that are holding you back are trauma related, whether small or large, it doesn't matter. They're trauma related. And that trauma just means there was a shock to your system, and your body, your DNA, your cells held on to that energy. And that gets in your way when you're triggered, when something similar reminds your body, maybe not your conscious mind, of that moment, you start to react.
Mhm,
And as you train, and it's interesting because I had this conversation with my daughter who is on this journey now. As you get accustomed to knowing your triggers, at first it's 2 days later, you're like, oh, darn, right? And then it gets to the, oh, God, here comes that trigger. What am I going to do about it? Right. And you got this emotional thing. For me, I now know when my body starts to, oh, I'm feeling that in my throat. Oh, okay. So what's going on? Before I have this emotional response, right? I can
right.
tell my body is out of alignment
Mhm.
for a nanosecond what's going on, right?
Right, exactly, and that's what I talked with people as well. It's the only difference between where we are right now and where some of our clients are is they just they don't realize that they have that power to recognize where they are and stop it before it becomes something that they don't want.
Right. And stopping it doesn't mean push it down.
Right.
Stopping it means leaning into it,
Yes.
right? Stopping it. So let me see if I can come up with an example. What do you want to talk about? Anger, sadness. Oh, let's do shame. I love shame. Yeah. Because that's the one I hid from for most of my life, right? And it is huge. It is the root of most things, right? Why do you lie? Okay, we all lie. We tell little white lies. And it's because we don't want the reaction from that other person. We don't want that reaction because we're ashamed of what we're doing. Let's face it. Because if we had no shame, we wouldn't care about their reaction,
Yeah,
right?
judgment. We think they're going to judge us.
Right, right. And so what? Right? So when it comes to shame, um, oh man, I don't know which story to tell, but I'll tell you. There was a time when I was going through master's training for NLP, and you go through all of the normal kinds of restrictions and blocks we have, and we get to shame, and like, so Gail, do you have, do you want to work on shame? And I'm like, I don't, I can't even find shame. I can't. No. And so you don't look for it if you're not ready to bring it up. And then a few years ago, I was like, holy crap. And as soon as I started to face it, I saw the stories it was telling me,
Mm,
right? And all of these emotions have healing potential, right? Because this happened and this happened and this happened and you held on to it. So now, does that mean I don't feel shame? No, shame has a purpose, right? It shows up for a purpose. you
Mhm.
just stop and you look at it and you say, "Oh, why are you showing up? Are you showing up because of history, or is there something going on that is not in alignment with my values?"
Right.
Right? Is it old or is this new?
Right.
If it's old, you need to heal that wound. If it's new, you need to address the issue that it's trying to tell you is coming up,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And you touched on something there, about the, not pushing it back and not recognizing it and that kind of thing. And I have to say, I'm just, when we're just sitting here having coffee and chatting, I just say what I want to say. So, so I'm just going to say there are so many coaches out there that that's what they tell you to do. They're like, oh yeah, limiting belief, get rid of it, move it away, ignore it, get rid of that trigger. Something comes up, nope, nope, push it back, push it back, push it back.
No, I tell you to pull up a chair and
Exactly.
have a conversation with it,
Exactly.
right?
Acknowledge it. Where did it come from? You know what? Everything that's happened to us since the day we were born has made you into who you are today, has made me into who I am today. I celebrate that. Was it all, sunshine and flowers? No, of course not. Nobody's is.
Yeah,
However, it's what made me me. It's what makes you you. All of those experiences, good, bad, and indifferent.
right.
So acknowledge them for what they are.
Because then you have gained conscious choices. I talk about conscious choices all the time. You have unconscious choices where your subconscious is driving the bus, right? So the school kids are driving the bus, right? Think of how that's going to work out, right? Or you have conscious choices with the bus driver who
Mhm.
has been licensed to do so is driving the bus, right? And that's only when the bus driver can turn around and say, "Hey guys, glad you're on the bus. Come on with me." And that's another thing, right? Embrace these flaws of yours. Embrace the history that you have. Embrace the pain that you went through, right? And love that child. I have a quick little story about a retreat I was on,
Mhm.
and I was getting ready to go to bed. And again, it was NLP training out in the desert somewhere. And I looked at my roommate and I went, "Oh no, so and so is leaving." And she goes, "How do you know?" I said, "Let's just go check out." Right. So we went to her room and knocked on the door, and sure enough, she's packing. And I said, "So what's going on?" She says, "This place sucks. It's not bringing me anything. I wasted my time. I'm wasting my money." I'm like, "We're in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night. There is nothing around. So, number one, let's wait till the morning. Number two, let's talk about what's really going on." And I looked at her, and so I am very empathic. Am a vision. I vision what's happening. I said, "I
Mhm.
see a little girl under a sink with like curtains drawn, and she is shaking. She is so frightened." I said, "I want you to get on the floor in front of her. Don't even touch her, and talk to her and calm her down, and let her know that you're now in control, that you are the adult, that you can make things happen, that you will protect her," right? And she looked at me, she goes, "Holy crap, I shake sometimes,"
You just gave me chills.
right? So I said, if you will do that for me tonight, and if you want to leave tomorrow, by all means leave tomorrow. But can you please face that little girl and have a conversation with her about how you now love her? The next morning there was a pond, and she was walking around the pond holding an imaginary hand, holding a conversation.
Oh,
And
awesome.
she stayed. She stayed. Yeah.
I love that. That's a very powerful story.
That's
And
healing. That's healing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the whole thing. It's when we're told to push this stuff back, all that does is give it more power.
That little
And
girl would have drawn the shades.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's acknowledge it. Let it be what it is. It is what it is. Acknowledge it, talk,
Right.
whatever it is to get yourself through because, who you are is who you are. And right here, now, present, focused, right? We talk about where you are and being present all the time. In the present, Eckhart Tolle, with the power of now. It's right here now in the present. There's nothing wrong. There is nothing that is hurting you. There's nothing, those ideas, that's all out here. It's in,
Right.
I call the subconscious. When I talk to people about the subconscious mind, I call it the blob. So I have them visualize. You've got this big blob. Pick a color. It's this big blob, and it's just kind of like hovering like a cloud here, and it's sitting there poking, and it's like, well, it's like you come up with something you want to do, and it goes, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do
You're
that.
not good enough. You're not smart
And-
enough. You're not,
yeah,
brave enough. You're not financially set enough.
yeah.
You're not. So when I talk to my clients about holding conversations with their subconscious mind, I have them name it. My subconscious
Love
mind's
that,
name is George.
George. Okay,
George has nothing to do with me. I can pull George out and hold a conversation and put him back,
I love that.
right? It causes that separation that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, back to kind of focus and clarity, because that's all, helping. Like you said, it's focus and clarity is not just focus and clarity. It's all that stuff that comes into it,
Right.
whether it's limiting beliefs or, old trauma that is being triggered by something. And there's a lot of stuff to it. If you were to give, like, I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot here. If you were like to give a tip, trick, tool, or something for somebody who just, no matter what they do, they're just having trouble. They're not focusing. What would you tell them?
Um, okay, so this is going to seem bizarre, but there is an exercise from Hawaii called hakala, and I can't spell it. It's okay. And I would say learn to practice how to focus by sitting up straight and tall and finding a spot on the wall. And I want you to just focus on that spot on the wall. Hone in on that spot on the wall. Keep your full mind present on the spot on the wall. And after you've done that for a couple of minutes, expand your peripheral vision while focusing on the spot on the wall. Expand your peripheral vision a little more while you're still focusing on the spot on the wall. And you continue doing that. If you do that for a few days, you will learn, you're training your mind to focus and not miss anything. Because that's
Ah,
what we're afraid of. We're afraid we're going to miss something,
yeah,
right?
it's that fear of
Right?
missing out. There might be something going on outside
Oh,
right now that I need to pay
right?
attention to, or over here.
Right?
Right?
But you train your brain to do this. And, I get messages like in the back of my head all the time, right? But I can focus on this conversation and still allow that to happen without diverting my conscious mind. I let my subconscious take
Right.
care of it because you're training your subconscious to pay attention while your conscious is focused.
Yes.
There you
Yeah.
go. I bet you never thought you would hear that as an alternative.
No, that's great, because most people, and I mean us included, it's funny. Some people think that coaches, consultants who are trained and have been doing this for a while and that kind of thing, they're like, oh yeah, well, you must not have this problem. It was like, we all.
Okay, when I'm walking on water, then I will tell you I don't have this problem.
Right?
Right?
It's like, yeah, no. I mean, just yesterday I was driving in the car, and my monkeys were out having a party, and I was thinking about all this stuff that I had committed to, because for whatever reason, I'm really good at saying no. For whatever reason, yesterday, I just kept saying yes. And as I'm driving to my workout in my car, my brain starts going, what is going on? Because that's one thing. It's we recognize it. And so we're like, like you said, with the throat, with something, what's going on? What's happening here? And so I
Right.
recognized it. And all I could think of was, man, you got to set some boundaries. And, I teach people how to set their boundaries and stuff like that. And I'm like, you need some boundaries and some focus going on. And it was really super funny, because my theme for this week, I have a theme every week on my channel here. And the theme of the week is focus. And so I was just like, okay, isn't it ironic that this is the one week, for whatever reason, I'm out of focus?
No. So let me tell you about the universal laws, and one of them is the universal law of polarity. If you are out of focus, you are on the opposite end of the focus polarity. So you are on the focus polarity, just at the wrong end.
Yeah.
right? So you can't have focus unless you totally understand non-focus.
Mhm.
I think Abraham Hicks says, when you know what you don't want, you absolutely know what you do want. That's the law of polarity,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, you need to have something to compare it
Compare it
to.
to, right?
Yeah, if I don't know what is not focused, how do I know what focused is? Yeah, that makes
Right?
perfect sense.
Right? Right. And that's I'll say to clients that they'll come to me and, well, I want clarity. And I'll say, so how will you know that you have clarity? What will it look like?
Yeah,
Well, what do you mean? I said, well, we can't go towards it if you don't know that you've gotten there.
yeah,
So what does there look like? Right?
yeah.
And and usually that takes them a while.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I do similar exercises with the, what does it look like when you've reached your goal, when whatever it is, if that's focus, if it's clarity, if it's,
Yeah,
motivation, intention, integrity, whatever it is that you're working for, how do you know you got there? Because
right.
these things are not tangible. It's not, it's not holding up a book. It's not something tangible that you're holding in your hand. It's it's that feeling, that emotion, the stuff that's going on inside. So how do you know something's changed? You have to know what is not working for you. And that's the
Right.
other piece, is that not everybody thinks the same way. Not everybody's a morning person. Not everybody does everybody's different. And so
Right.
my idea of what's unfocused to somebody else might be completely focused.
Right. Right. And so here's a little NLP exercise. So you're getting a twofer. um, that I use frequently. So when we have the conversation of what does it look like, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that you're in a movie theater and you're sitting. We can have some popcorn. You're sitting there and you're watching the movie, and who comes on and actually steps on this out of the movie screen and onto the stage, but you fully focused, you fully embracing what it is that you're trying to achieve. Notice how you're standing. Notice how you're breathing. Where are your shoulders? Where are your feet? Right? Where are your eyes? Where's your head? Right? Don't you just love what that looks like? Well, let's go take a walk on stage. Let's stand next to this person that you check out what they're doing. Isn't this awesome? Right? Now I want you to start mimicking what they're doing. Get behind them and then you model what they're doing. And after you've completely modeled what they're doing, I want you to step into this image of you because
I love
it's
that.
amazing, amazing, powerful imagery. And if I'm with you, I will then anchor that feeling in your body because your
Oh, wow.
body knows. Your body knows. And so now you know what it is to be focused or achieved or whatever it is that you're trying, because you've just created that.
What a feeling of empowerment that is.
That's the empowerment master.
Talk about the empowering process. That
Right,
is empowerment right there. So
right, right, right.
so so we are, as usual, we are past our time.
We're
So
done. We're done.
we're never done. Yeah, we could talk forever, I'm sure.
I know, I know.
Before we finish up, though, I do want people to hear more about you, what you do, and where they can find you.
So, well, you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. You can find me on my website, and it's all Gail, Gail Craft, Kraft. GailCraft.com for my website. I have a YouTube channel that is the Empowering Process podcast. I'm also on iTunes, so I interview people and we hold these kinds of conversations. It's lots of fun, and you can get in touch with me if you friend me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. You can send me a message, and I will reach out and get in touch with you. I'll send you a link so that we can have a conversation.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So, for all of the folks listening and listening to the replay, thanks for joining us for a cup and a chat
Yes.
with purpose. And we will catch you on the next Coffee with Regina in 2 weeks.
Ah,
So, Gail, thank you so much for joining me today.
Regina, such fun.
This is a great conversation.
This was great. This was
All right.
awesome.
Join us next time for a Coffee with Regina. Chat and
Bye.
conversation. Bye for now.